Hello, Dr. Torsunov. I've been listening to your lectures for 5 years, but only now I'm starting to grasp the meaning. Well, I'm beginning to realize it.
This is how it always happens. The meaning of the lecture doesn't come immediately. At first, people come and listen. They're just interested. They listen because I speak in an engaging way. And then gradually they start to get more involved, deeper and deeper, and then they change their lives. It always happens this way.
And my relatives think that I'm going to some kind of religious sect.
Well, find out which one. It's interesting. It's curious which one. Because usually at my lectures, people don't change their tradition. Those of you who are Christian, raise your hand. Those of you who are Muslim, raise your hand. There you go, plenty of different traditions.
My husband doesn't believe in God, and I'm currently on maternity leave. I don't have any friends. I learn something new, read about saints, listen to your lectures, and when I tell him about it, he listens. But then it turns out that he thinks I'm kind of crazy. And I feel our relationship is deteriorating because of this.
You shouldn't impose your knowledge on him too much. Let it be your hobby. When he shows interest on his own, then you can tell him about it. Just understand that if you force a person with something they don't understand, they will get scared, especially if it concerns changing their life. If you say something that doesn't change life, then people are calm about it. But what I say and do changes people's lives. Life changes, and a person's faith in God becomes stronger from my lectures. But I always say at every lecture that people shouldn't change their tradition. If any tradition is considered a religious sect, then I don't know what to say about that.
Can I ask one more question? How to pray right for my husband and child?
You should understand that we are connected by threads to all our relatives. These connections are marked by our memory. If you are already worried about them now, it means God already knows this. Then in prayer, just set yourself up to those who are praying and listen to them. You should pray as they do and forget about yourself and your relatives. You should think only about God. And during this time, God helps your relatives. Then at the end of the prayer, simply remember them and try to feel your recollection, your memory, because in a person's memory lies the understanding of what's happening. What is your relationship like? Does your husband feel better or not? You'll feel all of this in your heart. First, you'll feel in your heart that everything will be fine with your husband. Then at the second stage, you'll understand that you're saying something to him, and he's already started to listen to you, although he didn't before. At the third stage, he will start to develop on his own. But in which direction he will develop, towards which tradition, I don't know. It's all up to the individual to decide.
Thank you very much.
And it's good when a person develops in any spiritual direction. The main thing is that it should be a classical, traditional direction. This can be a traditional Christian direction, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, and so on. It should be some spiritual school that has existed for thousands of years. You shouldn't accept any new movements. It's very dangerous.
Thank you.
The woman in the front row who wanted to say something.
My husband and I came together. We've been married for 32 years. For the last 3 years, we can't break up, and it's hard to live together. We can't understand each other.
You're going through a difficult period in your marriage. It's not the first one. Before this, well, maybe not as intense, but there was a difficult period about 13 or 14 years ago. Then for about a year it was hard for you, then it gradually improved. It was hard for you to live together for another 3 years, then you got closer again. Such periods arise from time to time, and during such periods you shouldn't torment each other too much. You should pray, just live together, fulfill all obligations to each other, and gradually cleanse the relationship. In your relationship right now, your husband is experiencing dissatisfaction and resentment. That's what I'm diagnosing, and you are experiencing tension and aversion. The threads, the connections between you have been filled with bad energy, negative energy. If you start praying, you'll cleanse this relationship and happiness and mutual understanding will come to you. All processes of relationship destruction in this world have such a mechanical nature. It's just energies, although people think they are incompatible, and there is some reason they take it too seriously. If a person has overcome their fate, their heart has filled with happiness and the threads, channels in the relationship have been cleansed, then people immediately start to treat each other better. Let me give you an example. You went together to a friend's place for a birthday party. It was fun, good. And naturally, things got better between you. You're walking back, joking with each other, laughing, and you feel good. This means that you've been filled with the energy of happiness, and you deal with all the issues naturally. But when you don't have the energy of happiness, it becomes harder to live. Especially it happens as a person gets older. Your husband overheats. There is constant emotional tension, therefore resentment, strong vulnerability arise, your tension increases. He has heat and you have tension in the body. That means stiffness, constraint, inability to respond to the person, no strength to communicate, and so on. You're trying to somehow distance yourself from the relationship. He's trying to be closer because he needs communication and he's unsatisfied. All this means that you're exhausted. This exhaustion is a result of life. It's not overcome by thinking that a close person should help. A person must help themselves. You need to learn to restore your inner balance with the help of nature, love for people, love for God. I don't need you to fill me with strength right now. This morning I did 2.5 hours of yoga, static exercises, and prayer simultaneously. And I felt strength inside. That means I felt that I'm calm, healthy, and my psyche became strong, capable of overcoming fate. And this is how a person should live every day. Any person should fill themselves up in the morning and then give it to people. But you're waiting for happiness from each other. You're not filled. Moreover, diseases are developing very intensively in both of you due to a wrong lifestyle. You see, he has inflammatory processes in his body, and you're developing strong tension. Well, this is the result of that. All of this also leads to the destruction of a relationship. You need to change your lifestyle. You should move more, walk for a long time. Do static exercises. He needs to practice fasting and also do static exercises. They cool down. You need to go to a hot sauna to remove excess heat from the body. You both need to eat more greens because with age the body requires more green foods because they are the most healing. And so on. That means you need to approach it comprehensively. Change your life, spend more time in nature, less time figuring out your relationship with each other. Try to live a little at a distance, but fulfill your obligations to each other. And if you have the strength, do something good for each other. Do not ignore each other. But never try to figure out your relationship. Don't try to get more from each other than you can give. If a close person did something good, say, thank you. If they didn't, well, that's how it's supposed to be. That's it. Your bad period will end in 8 months.
That's very good. I'm just tired already. I have no strength left. I'm tired every day now.
He's not the reason why you're running out of strength. It's simply hard for you. If you live alone now, you'll still have no strength left. There will be no difference.
Yes. We have another private question. He used to drink heavily before, for 29 years.
He drank heavily because he was overheating. He had an overheating of the psyche. He needed to remove this overheating. That's why he drank.
I forgave this. I let it go. Everything is fine.
Well, let's say you got sick. You stink. I forgave you for stinking and being sick. Is this normal thinking? You just need to understand that when a person drinks, it simply means they are sick.
I understood that and let it go. But there's one thing about women. He was like this before, of course, but now at this age, almost 60, it's even embarrassing to talk about it.
Just understand that if a man is not satisfied, he will be looking for happiness.
But he's always among women, 28 women, and he's the only man.
Enough with he. Start with yourself. Accept your own fate first.
I want to understand him.
You need to understand yourself first. When a person overcomes their fate, they must go through 3 stages. The first stage, accept your fate. The second stage, understand that it's not him, but my fate that's to blame. Then further, I'm to blame, that's why I'm being punished. But this doesn't mean he should tell you, you're to blame for what I'm doing. He should also consider himself guilty.
He says that's who I am.
Don't say he, say I. Otherwise I won't talk to you. Because you don't understand that by blaming someone, you won't change anything in this life. Nothing to ask right away? Well done. Okay, that's fine. Let him speak, so you allow it, right?
I've had 2 strokes, after which I started focusing on spiritual development.
She described the person. Now the person speaks, and he's saying completely different things about himself. You see, this indicates a fly's consciousness. We only see the dirt in each other. We don't want to see any purity. This means hopelessness in life, no chance to improve a relationship. Will please continue speaking.
Well, I practice spiritual disciplines, Qigong, yoga, but with women.
She didn't say that you practice Qigong and yoga. She said you're involved with women. That's what she sees.
I'm not involved with women.
And I'm also constantly involved with women. 80% of the people who attend my lectures are women, and after each lecture I give them flowers. Am I also a womanizer according to you?
She says you hug women. Is it normal to hug?
You shouldn't hug women. One can treat them, but not hug them.
Well, when you greet a woman, is it normal to hug?
You should greet a woman from a distance. A woman is like fire to a man is like butter. And fire always melts butter. A man becomes weak next to a woman if she's not his wife, and a wife will always bother you and make you live right, and it's God who acts this way through her. If you work with women, don't smile at them sweetly. You shouldn't hug them and especially not touch them. When a man works with a woman, he should treat her like a daughter or like a mother, but never as an equal.
Well, as a healer, I touch women. I'm a massage therapist and a healer.
You shouldn't massage women as a massage therapist. You should only massage men. According to the Vedas, it's sinful to massage a person of the opposite sex. It doesn't bring any good to anyone because befoulment occurs. Both the woman and the man receive sexual pleasure from this. You can argue with me, it's your choice, but I'm telling you the opinion of the Vedas, not my own.
Can we give compliments to women?
No, giving compliments to women means sexually attracting them to yourself. Touching women is also to attract them sexually. If you want to help a woman, you should talk to her as an elder. If a woman is helping you, you should listen to her as a junior. If you flirt with her, give compliments, touch her, caress her, this is sex. There is subtle sex and there is physical sex. Sex always destroys the family and causes aggression in the wife. She's against it, because God reacts and acts this way in her heart. Men usually disagree with me. This is normal. Women usually get confused when I say this, and men simply disagree. That's how a man's consciousness works. It's normal. I'm not against your opinion. Thank you for coming to my lectures. Be quiet. Speak only about yourself. You go again, he. It means that he's to blame for your problems, but you yourself are to blame for your problems. In your past life in a male body, you did the same thing. I can see this. So be quiet and just listen. You've even done the same thing in this life in a female body.
I'm just a healer.
Do as you see fit. I've told you the truth. Thank you for coming to the lecture. I'm glad that you're so humble and listen to me. Thank you very much. Everything will be fine for you. Keep developing. You'll gradually understand everything. In fact, if a man behaves correctly with a woman, the number of clients doesn't decrease. It only increases. Because an honest person, a deep person, always attracts everyone. But if we behave wrong, it defiles our consciousness and God is displeased with us. And He destroys our life. Everything depends on God in the heart. If we do everything right, God is pleased. If we do wrong, He is not pleased. This is how our life is arranged, unfortunately. Thank you for saying this now. Thank you. Well done.
Listening to your lectures, I've accepted it, honestly. I started to understand what a man is, who a man is.
Keep developing. Everything will be fine for you. Gradually, you'll understand everything and figure it all out. I can't take either side, neither yours nor his. Everything in this world is always harmonious. People are always worthy of each other. And as they develop, they both change. You both came to the lecture. It's a great fortune for your family and for me. That's why I'm grateful to you. Listen, study, develop. When I was about 18 years old, I treated people with massage. And sometimes I treated women with a massage. I pressed on points, treated women too. But then at some point I realized that this shouldn't be done. I truly realized that a man should not touch a woman's body at all. There are some special cases when it's necessary for a doctor to palpate organs, for example. Well, there are different cases. But in general, it's better to avoid these things because it leads to attachment to various desires and then ultimately it can lead to sin. It's a dangerous, very dangerous practice, and it also attaches the woman. She also starts to get attached to you. There are different situations in life, different levels of people's development. It's difficult to say anything definitive now because if, let's say, you follow my practice and end up without money, without clients, then that might also be wrong. Therefore, pray, develop yourself, try to do everything right. Good. You, sir, can ask a question. The microphone, here in the front row.
Please tell me where to start if there is a desire to live one's life, to unlock one's potential, one's talents.
Unlocking one's potential always comes through helping others. A person is not independent of other people. For me to unlock myself, I need to help you. If I don't help you, I won't unlock myself. Especially in the early stages of a man's development, he should engage in the process and simply help people. For example, there is a boss at work. You need to help him, obey him. Obedience is the best way for a person to develop. If you learn to obey your elders and respect them, you will immediately go up the social ladder. But if you're always independent and think that you'd better do everything yourself, you will never be able to occupy a high position in society. Why? Because a person who doesn't want to depend on anyone is simply underdeveloped. I just see something inside you, that's why I'm telling you these things.
How do I respect elders if I see their imperfections?
For this, you need to understand a secret. I'm going to tell you now. I had such a case at the festival. A high-ranking official approached me. He didn't just manage people, but had a very high position in society. He came to the festival. He was in a situation where he saw serious mistakes in his superiors, flaws in their activities, and put this above them. That means he began to fight against them without understanding why they were making these mistakes. He just started to rebel against this, to fight with them, whether they could correct their mistakes or not. As a result, it became dangerous for his seniors, and they warned him not to do this. Otherwise, they promised to apply some methods to him, but he still didn't listen, and they filed a lawsuit against him. He began to face imprisonment. So he came to the festival, and the court proceedings would be ahead. He came to the festival. He said that he had lost his position, lost his status in society. He said, I wanted the truth, I wanted to do everything right, but I don't understand why God protected these people and not me. Why should I go to prison now while they should continue to manage? What's the reason? I explained to him that God himself puts people in management positions. Sometimes people cope and do everything right. Sometimes they make mistakes. It may be either case, but the truth that we see in relation to them is less important than the social structure itself. Because there is a social structure that was created by God. Let's say, in your body the intestines are not working properly, and generally they don't want to work properly no matter what you do, no matter what you eat. You have diarrhea again and again. Is this a reason to damage the intestines? You treat your intestines, you're not feeling better. Will you remove them? I have a question for you. Will you, young man?
No.
And why not?
It's part of the system.
Your body would die from that, isn't that right? Similarly, there is an organism in society, in the social structure. Because of the revolution in 1905 that damaged the system, people had to spend 60 years restoring the power structure. This happened through terrible bloodshed. A huge number, millions of lives were simply lost because there was no proper management structure in society. This is the result of such an action, when simply because of poor management, they just overthrew everything. The idea that we need to destroy something because it's wrong is demonic by its nature. If elders don't understand what's right, fine, God will punish them himself. It's not your business. If a father doesn't understand what's right, God will punish him himself, but you shouldn't kill him or overthrow him. Now imagine they're introducing this system in the West. If a father doesn't understand what's right, they call the police, and he's arrested and deprived of parental rights. Can you imagine? And the son ends up in the hands of complete strangers. And now homosexuals are eyeing such children very attentively. Imagine homosexuals don't have children in their families because they simply can't give birth, but they need children. They want children, and so they created such laws. Let's say a father argues with a child and the child doesn't understand what's next. The child complains about the father is deprived of parental rights, and the child loses their father and is given to homosexuals, and then they make this child a homosexual too. This is the result of such thinking. I'm just giving you an example. If you go for destruction, please look at what will happen next. Remember the destruction of 1905. What happened next? There were huge wars throughout the country, and as a result, the country weakened and became barely alive. I explained all this to this leader and then advised him to pray. He started praying and understood how everything is arranged in the world. He understood that elders should be respected because God chose them. And when he understood this, he said, I understand. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to work. I want peace. And I want to help everyone serve the country. I said, everything will be fine. Now you need to pray and simply ask God to forgive you. He started doing this, and he comes up and says, that's it. I feel that I'm forgiven. I say, now wait, they will call you. When they start talking, you honestly tell them this. He says, you don't understand these people. They don't believe in words. They only believe in actions, and my actions were wrong. So this all doesn't work. I don't believe that they would change anything just because of my words. I say, you don't need to believe in anything. You need to do as I said if you're asking me. And he says, well, okay. Such a serious person says, all right, I'll do it like that. And indeed they called him, and he started telling them directly. I understood everything. I was in such a situation. And when he said all this, there was some silence, and then they told him that there would be no trial. Come back to work. Did you understand? Have you figured it out?
Yes, everything is clear.
Wonderful. Inner protest is your sins. If you protest against a person, it means you are the same kind of person. I'll give you an example. I had two friends. One of them cruelly left his wife. The second began to hate him, get angry, and fight against him in his heart. He started to ruin his life. I tell him, listen, don't do this. You can judge him, pray for him, but if you start to get so very angry at him, it's very unfavorable for your fate. He says, what's unfavorable? I will never allow such an act. 2 years passed. He left his wife in exactly the same way. As they say, you reap what you sow. When a person starts judging someone strongly, God gives them the same test and says, since you're judging, go ahead, try it yourself. Can you withstand this situation or not? Why have you gathered here, waiting for flowers? Oh, please, go ahead. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ladies, go ahead, give me that one. The lady ran over there. Okay, my dears. Thank you very much. Be happy. Yes, put them here. Take all the flowers and put them in a vase. We have enough flowers for everyone. Great. Did you make it yourself?
No, we just bought it.
Really? Okay, thank you very much. We've cleared it up with you. Work on your heart. Keep working. You'll succeed. If you understand all these formulas, you will develop very quickly. People mainly suffer because they don't understand anything. They act as their heart tells them, but it usually doesn't tell them the right thing. It tells them as fate dictates, you understand? I didn't understand everything in this life right away either. I didn't immediately understand how to do it right. I see now that people constantly grumble about their government, complain, see flaws in their tradition, and constantly criticize the leaders of their tradition. This means they are not worthy of peace. Just imagine if God were to do as those who grumble want. It would simply be chaos. Because even for a leader who governs a society, it takes many, many years to figure out how to do things properly. And many more years to gather forces and resources, and a person is replaced. Again, it takes many, many years for them to gain strength, and it's not certain that they will be able to do it, and so on. And then the country simply descends into chaos. Now the Americans have changed their president, and such chaos has begun there. A lot of people have left the country altogether. It's just stirring up the whole country. This is simply a sign of wrong thinking, that's all. The same thing is happening in Ukraine. It's just wrong thinking. When I go there to give lectures, I say, stop criticizing your government, leave them alone, give people the opportunity to govern, otherwise there will be chaos and you will never be happy in this country. Let them make mistakes, learn from their mistakes. Do you understand the system? What other questions? Well, you, lady in the front row.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I started listening to your lectures probably since spring. My daughter introduced me to them.
You are a wise mother, very wise.
Really?
Of course.
Thank you. I didn't think so.
Well, wise people never think that way, and when a person is not wise, they always consider themselves wise. When a person is wise, they always consider themselves not wise. That's how this world is arranged.
Yes. And your lectures help me work on my character qualities in such an amazing way. Just thank you very much. And I want to ask about my brother. His name is Sergey. He's been having problems in his life for a long time.
In his personal life?
Not in personal life, at work.
At work, it seems to be fine. He's just bustling around somehow. Well, he's making premature decisions, I think.
And he seems to be a good and smart person, but something just doesn't work out at all. And I started praying for him.
He's very unstable. He changes decisions quickly. He lacks patience in life.
And today he came to wish me a happy new year and told me, my hand has started to dry up. I looked. One of his hands is young, but the other hand, I was even scared. I touched it.
He should do prolonged continuous movement and prolonged stationary position of the body, and everything will be restored. This is the result of tension in the body. The left hand suffers from tension.
But it's his right hand.
Really? Then it's overheated. It's the same, no difference. Prolonged continuous movement. That means walking for a long time. He needs to walk for at least an hour and 50 minutes twice a week for the body to start recovering. And stand still near trees for 55 minutes, and even better near trees that cool. These are poplar, maple, and willow. He should stand near a tree for an hour. He can do something, for example, listen to a lecture during this time, and then walk for an hour and 40 minutes. This doesn't need to be done every day. It should be done like this: stand still twice a week and move for a long time twice a week. After 2 weeks, everything will start to recover. Tell him that.
I will definitely tell him. Thank you very much.
In fact, all of this is very easy to solve. You just need to know how. It's very simple. It's not difficult to heal the body. There's just a certain system to how this body is structured. Often people don't understand that the subtle energy body controls the entire organism, and it gets polluted over time. There are 3 types of pollution. The first type of pollution is when the organism, the subtle energy body, gets clogged. This is the first type of pollution. And as a result, the physical body either gains weight or toxins accumulate there. In the first stage. Yes, in the first stage. In the second stage, benign tumors appear. In the third, malignant tumors. To eliminate this type of aging, you should do prolonged, continuous movement and fasting. A water fasting until lunch is sufficient. The second type of aging is when the subtle energy body becomes tense. This leads to tension, spasms, and various pains in the body. In the second stage, body deformation occurs. In the third stage, there can be strokes, heart attacks, other serious damages, paralysis. This type of aging is treated with prolonged continuous movement, preferably more than an hour and a half of calm, continuous movement, walking or running, gradually increasing it to more and more. You need to run for at least 50 minutes or walk for an hour and a half. From this point, the person's healing and recovering begins. And prolonged continuous standing or any other static exercises. Each exercise needs to be done for a long time. They provide an opportunity to get rid of the tension of this type of aging. And the third type of aging is excessive heat in the body. Heat leads to inflammatory processes which then turn into various ulcers, allergies, skin diseases. And the last stage is systemic diseases, such as scleroderma, tuberculosis, lupus, and so on. They are caused by heat in the body. Diabetes, it's the same thing, heat in the body, all disorders of hormonal function. Heat in the body is removed through fasting and static exercises. All 3 types of aging are treated in 3 ways. If a person practices fasting, maintains a stationary position of the body, and engages in prolonged, continuous movement, they become healthy. When I understood this, I started to intensify these types of activities. I have always fasted until lunch every day. I drink water until lunch, and this helps me to cleanse the body well. I've been practicing yoga since childhood. I do only a few exercises for 40 minutes each. 4 exercises for 40 minutes. 1 flexion, 1 extension, shoulder stand, and a few other variations. And you need to stay in every position for a long time. This is very helpful for health. I started running, and now I've increased my running to an hour and a half. I run for an hour and 40 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes. I usually run 14-15 kilometers. After I started running, I began to get younger. I lost excess weight, gained vigor, good mood, strong work ability, and so on. I was doing 2 cleansing practices out of 3, and, well, I was doing fine in general. But when I started doing all 3, then my body came into complete order. If you gradually increase your efforts in these directions in the same way, you will feel absolutely healthy and cheerful, and you will have the strength to give energy to your loved ones as well. This is what needs to be done.
Thank you very much.
This applies to you too, not just him.
Well, I understood. I'm in the first stage.
Because in a year and a half, you will have a bad period related to health. You should manage to prepare yourself for this.
Thank you.
Well, the man in the second row.
I have high blood pressure.
When you start walking continuously for 50 minutes to an hour and learn to stand continuously for an hour and do both practices twice a week, your blood pressure will normalize.
What about swimming? I swim once a week.
You won't be able to cure this by swimming.
I swim intensively for 3 kilometers.
Intensive swimming doesn't heal. You need to swim calmly and cheerfully. When a person does something intensively, they strain their body. The cause of your high blood pressure might be intensive swimming. How long do you swim continuously?
An hour.
Great. I'll tell you what you need to do now. You need to learn to swim not intensively, but calmly and cheerfully for an hour and 50 minutes. As soon as you start doing this, you can say goodbye to your high blood pressure. With intensive swimming, you strain your body, and the next day you start to have an exacerbation. Your sleep is disturbed. You're doing it wrong. You're forcing your body. When a person runs or walks, they should forget themselves, wish happiness to everyone during this time, not try to overcome themselves. When a person tries to overcome themselves during exercise, they destroy their health.
I have a herniated disc in my cervical spine, and if I don't swim intensively, my back starts to hurt. When I swim intensively, my back doesn't hurt. I tried swimming calmly, but my back started to hurt.
I see. You're getting overcooled during this time. You're simply experiencing overcooling in your body. I understand. Okay, is the water cool in the pool?
27, 28 degrees.
No, it's not cool. You should swim comfortably. Not completely slowly, but swim comfortably so that it's pleasant and comfortable for you, without getting tired. Swim calmly without straining. If you swim for 50 minutes or less, your back will hurt. If you start swimming longer, your back will never hurt. Your subtle energy channels are being cleansed during this time, and restoration begins. If you simply swim for an hour and 50 minutes, I guarantee that you will feel tired from it, but you won't have any pain.
Okay, thank you.
Try to understand the most important thing. Always swim calmly, breathe calmly, don't overexert yourself.
Can I ask another question? I have an adopted child, 11 years old.
Great child.
Great, but lazy. How can I build a relationship with him?
This child was born when the parents were in complete depression. When he was born, he barely made it. It was very difficult for him. He was inhibited. He only came out of this inhibited state at the age of 1.5 years. To get himself going, he needs to start moving little by little. You can enroll him in some sports club. It's important that he doesn't strain himself there, but enjoys it. In about 2 to 3 years, he'll get going, loosen up. He needs to remove the stiffness. He's stiff. You should remove the stiffness that's been there since birth, and he'll get himself going. He's a normal child. He has the right outlook and desires. He just can't do anything with himself. He's trapped in a cocoon of tension. And don't nod your head. You need to fast and not overeat late in the evening.
She fasts and doesn't eat late in the evening.
Good, so she's already doing this.
My husband took charge of me.
Great, excellent. That's right. If you hadn't done this, you could have developed a malignant tumor in your body later on. I don't know exactly where. If you do fasting and movement, you will overcome it. Your aging is going in the direction of excess weight, and the process is already at the stage of benign tumor formation.
Thank you very much.
Everything in this world is logical. All issues can be resolved if you know how. Do all of this and watch for the result. You're moving, that's good, but it's also important for you to do static exercises. If you don't do it, your body will again go towards overstrain. Find a tree, learn to stand near a tree. Your trees are such as linden and poplar. They relax strongly and also remove high blood pressure. Do these 2 things, and you won't have high blood pressure. Your high blood pressure now is exclusively due to tension in your body. It's the result of tension. If you learn to move calmly, the tension will normalize. The pain from swimming was because you were getting overcooled. If you swim very slowly, then you get overcooled in the water and the pain starts. You shouldn't swim too slowly, but just comfortably. The swimming should be fast enough. How to determine if you're rejuvenating and healing? Your breathing doesn't get disrupted. You swim and breathe calmly and well. If there's no sharp breathing, then everything is normal. The body is in a good, comfortable healing state. If you do something too slowly, then there's no healing. The body gets tired from it. Balance is needed in everything, neither fast nor slow. What questions do you have?
I am Muslim by faith. This year I was fortunate to meet a guru. She doesn't preach any particular faith. She unites all faiths.
It's impossible to unite all faiths. Can you mix sweet, salty, sour, bitter tastes all together and make it taste good? Each faith has a unique flavor of relationship with God. These flavors are very pure and sublime, and they cannot be mixed. A person may love all faiths, visit different temples, and love all religious people, but each person definitely has their own inner flavor of relationship with God. This flavor cannot be changed because it has existed in your heart for more than one life.
All the practices I'm performing now are directed towards this guru. Could I be going the wrong way? Before, my direction was towards Allah.
Then you should keep your direction towards Allah. This person provides spiritual education, but your faith hasn't changed. It just happened that you haven't found a mentor within your own faith. That's the cause of your struggle. But if you had found one, you would have felt very happy and fulfilled. Is Iskander here in the hall? Please turn towards him. Iskander, please introduce this girl to your mentor. Let him be her mentor too, okay? This person lives in Kazan. I am sure he will help you. He is very dignified and pure. He is of your faith. You see, he came specially from Kazan to introduce you to your future mentor. This is how the Lord arranges things. See, you even sat next to each other. It's not possible for people to just sit next to each other by chance. This is a proof from God that this is how it should be. I didn't know where he was sitting. I can't see faces well at a distance.
I have a complicated relationship with a close person. She feels offended by me. I've been praying for 2 years, but there's indifference in my heart. This person is my husband's mother.
Oh, I thought you were speaking about a close person. Yes, I see she is very categorical and firm by nature. You are gentle and compliant, but she's not turning towards you yet. You have the wrong strategy. Imagine there's a big stone in front of you and you want to lift it right away. What will be the result? You'll strain yourself. That's exactly what you've done now. You've simply strained yourself. That's why coldness has appeared in your heart. You know, she represents your very difficult fate. I feel that not in your past life, nor in the life before that, but 2 lives ago you acted very harshly towards someone who was close to your child. You behaved very strictly and inflexibly. 2 lives have passed and you couldn't get rid of this bad fate. It has transferred to the 3rd life. You stressed that person so much that it's still manifesting even in the 3rd life. You need to keep a bit of distance from her and pray. 2 years will pass and this bad fate will end. But only after 1.5 years will you be able to communicate with her. If you try to force the relationship now, you'll strain yourself too much. Because for you this is insurmountable karma right now. The fate is insurmountable, very difficult. You see, it's enough for her to know what to do and for how long. I'm sure she will do everything so that in 2 years they will have normal relations with this woman. A person who knows how to overcome fate just needs a little support, that's all. Mostly, however, people don't understand how it works. Everyone asks me what to do. After the lecture, people constantly ask me what to do. I tell them to listen to the sound of those who pray and repeat like they do, tune into holiness. I've already said this about 50 times.
I had a miscarriage 2 years ago.
You have strong heat in your body. This heat is very strong. You need to eat more greens. In the evenings, 2-3 times a week, take a bath in warm water. You need to do static exercises holding a stationary position of the body. You should also fast until lunch. This way you can remove the heat from the body. When there's no heat, then there won't be a missed miscarriage. And the most important reason is getting up late from bed. What time did you wake up today?
At 6.
You started struggling with it, but you wanted to wake up at 9, right?
No, I try to wake up earlier. The doctors, on the contrary, tell me to wake up later.
This means you're doing the right thing. I've told you everything. Do all of this and everything will be fine. If you're worried, you can use stones. This also helps. We have such services. We can remove this heat from the body using stones. But this is just supplementary. First, you should do what I told you. If you need a little extra push, we can apply the stones. But mainly, you yourself overcome your fate. Well, all right. Since you both are raising one hand together, we'll ask you.
Hello, thank you very much. I have so many questions.
No, this means you don't have any questions at all. You should only ask what really troubles you.
I pray for small children who are sick.
Is this your job? So you treat them or what? Or do you have so many sick small children?
No, they are completely strangers.
You see them and want to help them, so you start praying for them. Do you know why? Because in your past life you were already doing this and you were successful at it.
When they pass away, it hurts me very much.
This means that you will be saving such children.
I prayed for a little girl by agreement for a whole year.
What I see is, thanks to your prayer, this girl has now reached heaven. She is experiencing great happiness there. Well, yes, continue.
I see so much suffering around. I understand that this earth is a temporary state, but it's so painful to watch.
Either share knowledge with people or pray for them. There are only 2 ways to help. That's it. There are no other ways.
And the pain? How to deal with it?
Pain means ignorance. You don't see the continuation. Just accept how this world is arranged, and then you will see the continuation. As long as you feel pain, your eyes will be closed. You need to accept God's will. What happens here? Agree with it, accept His will. After this, the opportunity opens up. Strain internally and accept. Accepting doesn't mean to do nothing. Every person has their cross to bear in life. They have to carry it. Accept this, and you'll immediately feel calmer. Everything that is given to a person, even the most insurmountable suffering, is for development. Memory stays with a person. When they pass away, they remember their victories. They remember who did what for them. That means all this happens for development, for victory.
Dr. Torsunov, how do you pray? You just pronounced this word. Do you pray by your own words?
I pray with a specific prayer in my tradition. I don't want to specify exactly which one. Because this is my intimate thing. I pray together with my mentor. I play the voice of my mentor. I listen to the sound of his prayer and repeat the prayer with him. I enter his state, his faith, and live by his faith during this time. And as soon as I start doing this, I immediately feel strength inside, because God likes when we believe in our elders.
And who is your mentor?
Any discussions on this topic always lead people to start striving in this direction. This means they will commit a sin. For example, if I say that the most beautiful girl is over there, people will believe me. Someone may leave his wife in order to be with that girl.
In general, prayer is a conversation between a person and God, right? And should one pray as the soul dictates? Thank you.
Thank you for understanding me. We don't change anything. Moreover, if, let's say, a husband follows one tradition and wife follows another tradition, that's also great. It's just a scope of work. It's simply a scope of work in understanding the diversity and depth of this world. That's all. That's the scope of work. Who among you has a husband of one tradition while you're of another? Raise your hand. And who among you doesn't suffer anymore? Raise your hand. As one song says, God is always with us. He's in our hearts. So you've understood how this world works if you're not suffering anymore. Cool, isn't it? Keep living like this. Who sings that song? Well, I was also curious about that. Someone just sent me this song. His name is Babek Mamedrzaev. People always send me all the best things, and I don't even need to search. When something appears, they immediately send it to me. Thanks to kind people. Your question, the young lady, on the topic of the lecture, Victory Over Life's Challenges and Relationships.
Hello. First, I want to say thank you very much. I've been listening to your lectures for 5 to 7 years already, and not just yours, but also those of your associates. And big changes began in my fate. Thanks to this, I continue listening now. I really like it. And my question is about victory over fate. My close people are my mother and sister, besides children, and I have difficult relationships with my mother and sister. Thanks to your lectures, I somehow learned to deal with children, and the process is going on. I'm improving relationships that were bad before, but with my mother and sister, it doesn't work at all.
I'll tell you the sequence. You started living correctly. First thing that happens is you start feeling that your life has become better. That's the very first thing? No, first you start feeling that the knowledge you're receiving is true. Your heart feels, this is exactly what I need. Then the second thing you get is that you feel your life is changing. You feel that your life has become better. But simultaneously with this, you'll also feel that you're becoming distant from other people. It's like you're entering solitude, as if there's no one around anymore. Everyone seems foreign. You think, I am changing my life. This is an illusion, because you're transitioning from one layer of life to another, since your friends and all relationships were in that layer. As you transition to another layer, you get scared. Simultaneously, there's an improvement in life and fear, because it seems unclear where you're going in your life. The second stage, your association changes. People who surrounded you, true friends, stay with you and start moving forward together with you. And those people who just had fun with you and with whom you wasted time together, they disappear. The second stage of a person's development can happen after 6 months, after a year of working on themselves, not immediately. This is a slow process. That means your association changes. In the third stage, either a person's attitude towards work changes or the work itself. The person begins to experience happiness in work, and their fate is being cleansed through work as well. Only at the fourth stage, a person begins to improve relationships with their husband or wife. And this process is very slow. By this time, they have already been working on themselves for about 2.5 to 3 years, or somewhere around 2 years. This is in the best case scenario. The fifth stage, a person's relationships with their children improve. It only happens after relationships with their closest person have improved. The sixth stage, a person begins to improve relationships with their parents and relatives. So what stage are you at?
It seems I'm at the 5th stage, but I don't have a husband. so I haven't managed to improve that relationship.
No husband. It all depends on your strength. It's like someone saying, I can't get third place in Sambo. Well, then train harder.
7 years ago, when you visited, I was just after my divorce. I left you a note on the table and you answered it. I had a feeling like I was being given potassium chloride. I understood that you were right.
Female power, meaning when a woman is strong, she can do a good throw, can throw right over her shoulder, and the guy just flies over and falls at her feet. As the song goes, I remember your dark eyes and die, I only dream about you. That means a woman had enough female strength.
So I still don't have enough strength?
Well, you're almost there, really close now.
Thank you. I'll keep track of time.
Just 6 more months, and someone will fall at your feet. Maybe that person is already sitting here in this hall. That's the kind of person you need. Maybe not, I don't know. You lady, yes, please sit down.
I'm also very grateful to you. My friend invited me here this afternoon.
This is your first time here, and you're already very grateful to me.
Very much.
Well, I'm surprised. Wonderful.
I've read your books. Many things helped. My question is, as always, about myself. What asceticism practices do I need to perform to remove hatred towards men? I'm very grateful to God for my second husband. I still can't completely forgive my first husband. My daughter is 8 years old. She is obese. She's 20 kilograms overweight. My son has autism. He doesn't speak and cannot take care of himself at all.
All these things happen because there are some fundamental serious disturbances inside a person. No need to give back the microphone. Because you believed in a person rather than in God, you were very disappointed in your first husband, and this disappointment now blazes in your heart. This heat also spreads to the uterus. And when the children were being carried, they were burning, it was very hot. When a person is hot, they have 2 options. Either they become very tense, or they try to relax completely. The girl became tense, and that's why she's gaining weight. And the boy has heat in his psyche, that's why it's difficult for him to concentrate. They received their fate because that's what was meant for them. Don't think that you're guilty. This is just their fate working. They specifically came to you to live this way. Now the question is what to do. What's the boy's name?
Marat.
How old is he now?
7 years old.
He needs to be fed as much as possible with greens, both stewed and raw greens. You need to grow greens on windowsills. You can buy a special lamp for your apartment. There's a plant called amaranth. It grows very quickly. When you stew it, it's very beneficial for health. There's also lamb's quarters and wheat. You can sprout it and grind these tall wheat sprouts to make a drink. It makes a sweet green drink. You should stew greens, make salads with greens, and so on. Give more greens to your son. He should be enrolled in swimming.
At the moment, the child is in a boarding school. There's no such possibility there. They won't prepare food separately for him.
I'm telling you what can help. This helps such children. He's overheated inside. He needs cooling down. Swimming and green food will cool him down, as well as standing near trees. Trees cool down, and they will remove tension from the child. These kinds of things can cure him of his illness. To heal the girl, she needs to be forbidden from eating after 2 p.m. She can either drink water or eat only stewed vegetables in the second half of the day. And she must be forced to walk for a very long time. That means when she learns to walk, she should walk for at least 1 hour, around 50 minutes, or run. She should walk often for at least 1 hour, about 55 minutes, and she will start losing weight, and also sometimes she can fast on water until lunch. How old is she?
She'll be 9 years old soon.
Take her to a sports class where there's lots of movement.
What about swimming?
No, swimming won't help her because she's tense, water cools down. She needs movement. Enroll her in running. She needs prolonged, continuous movement, you see, for example, therapeutic walking or running. This will help her, but swimming won't help because she's tense. Swimming will help your son.
Can you advise me what to do to calm down?
I would also advise you to eat more greens because you're overheated. In the evenings, lie in warm water, not hot. It will cool you down. You have to do static exercises and practice water fasting until lunch. You have to understand that God is the best and most important in life, and He gives everything to people as needed, not as we want. And that event that happened to you was very important in your life because in your previous life you committed a very cruel act towards someone close to you. Because of this you suffer now, and there is no injustice in this world. If you suffer, accept it. This is the best option, then you will live happier. And if you rebel in your heart and feel injustice, you are thus arguing with God. To avoid arguing with him, you need to remember him more often and feel his purity and mercy. And that he actually might not give such experiences to a person in life. But in order for him not to give such experiences, you must understand the rules. If you serve him personally, then he will act through your heart, not as a legislator, but as your beloved Father, you understand? There are two types of people. Some just live, and God also builds relationships with them the same way. You get what you deserve. But if you love him very dearly and want to serve him and do as he wants, and read his scriptures rather than what you like to read on the internet, then he will build a close relationship with you, and your fate will move away from you. Because when God builds a close relationship with someone, fate cannot defeat such a person. And then the feeling of injustice will leave you, and you will feel in your heart that everything is right in your life.
Thank you. May I ask a question? I've already taken the microphone.
Who do I have here?
It's me. I wanted to ask about a spiritual guide. I have a question. I follow Orthodox Christianity. I want to know how to find a spiritual father or a mentor. What's the difference between them? What's the distinction? I go to church.
Well, you should ask at your Orthodox church. It's like when an Englishman comes to me and says, Dr. Torsunov, how can I best learn to speak English? I tell him that he has to go to a linguist. I barely know English at all. He says, yes, I understand.
Another question. In one of your lectures, you mentioned that a person looks at the faces of saints, meaning one chooses a saint and prays to them. Is that right?
Yes.
So, here's the question. You said that if, let's say, a saint died, we should find their prayer.
Died? How can a saint die?
Well, why not? They're not among the living now, right? So how can we then find their prayer, their voice recorded?
So the saint died then? Died for real?
Well, take Saint Seraphim of Sarov, for example. He's not here.
What do you mean he's not here? Among the living? He's more alive than you are, I'm telling you honestly.
I mean, there's no voice recording.
Well, that's because they didn't record voices back then.
That's exactly what I mean. So how can we pray using a recording then?
You should know that you play recordings of those who have been recorded, and if you want to pray to Saint Seraphim of Sarov, then you need to take his image. Remember, people send me photographs of patients. I look at the photo and can fully diagnose a person's mental state. I do this every day. And if they send me a photograph of someone who passed away 10 years ago, I can similarly diagnose their mental state from the photograph because a person's photograph shows the person. Moreover, I'll tell you, if you draw a person, just draw a person. Through this drawing, there will also be contact with their mental state. That's how this world works. If someone with a loving heart drew Saint Seraphim of Sarov, then Saint Seraphim of Sarov is directly connected with you through this image. You just need to bow to him in prayer, love him and love to bow to him, and then you will undoubtedly be able to contact him. I'll tell you, although this is my intimate experience, but since I was asked and I remembered it, it means God wants me to say this. In one place, I won't say where and when, I was given the opportunity to touch the relics of one Orthodox holy person. And I did it. I touched my forehead to him and sat nearby, and I started asking him, please show me your purity. I want to know you deeper, and I started praying. After about 15 minutes, I saw a forest and a forest edge, and I saw a very luminous, pure person standing on this edge. Later, I asked for an image of this saint, and I saw that it was exactly him standing there. That means I saw that this was the person standing there. Not that everything was drawn exactly the same. They drew him. That means there were emotions. The image depicted everything. And I understood that people don't die. I knew it before that too, but I understood it even deeper after seeing this person. So when people tell me Saint Seraphim of Sarov is no longer here, it makes me shudder. It's like saying that I don't exist.
Okay, then which voice should I play when praying?
Well, play those who are praying. Often people try to play something that's the most extreme. You see, the idea is to set oneself up for prayer. People are praying, you like how they pray, so play that and pray together with them. When a person enters this wave of prayer and tunes into the saint with their gaze, they receive the best possible outcome from fate. And if your spiritual traditions tell you not to tune in to a saint, but to tune in to the holy name of God, then do so. And if they tell you to tune in to the scriptures, then do that, because in each tradition the elders show a specific path to God. But in your tradition, you can tune into a saint, so do just that.
If one is praying for someone, You say that one shouldn't pray for the person themselves, but just pray.
You need to understand that while we think about the person, we tie their fate to ourselves through memory, and God won't be able to do anything there because we've taken up His place. In order to influence their fate, we must free up space for God. In other words, we must believe. To believe means to forget about everything else. When a person believes that God Himself decides what will happen, they trust Him rather than trying to help with their own efforts. At this moment, when a person thinks about God and has forgotten about the person, the Lord undoubtedly enters the space you freed up, and you can understand and feel this later. After the prayer, you can remember this person you prayed for, and your heart will feel lighter towards them. You will feel a different sensation towards them. Through this, you'll understand that some progress has been made. And then it gets even lighter, and then even lighter, and so on. I personally showed one of my acquaintances how to do this. And we took her relatives' photos and started praying together with her, and she felt it. She's a very sincere person. She felt it. She said, "Now I feel this and this." And we went through these steps, and the relationships there were just terrible before. We went through all these steps, studied them with her, and she said, "Is it really possible that this person will treat me differently?" I said, "Now check." And she went to visit these people, and suddenly they treated her differently. And she said, "Wow, this is amazing." When I was studying this topic, I also conducted such experiments. I was so amazed. I have one friend with whom I'm very strongly connected in my heart. I traveled with him for a long time. He helped me. He helped me with my work, with the lectures. Once he left, and we're from the same city. And he went back home to his city, while I stayed in the city where I was giving lectures. This was a long time ago, about 20 years ago, and I thought, now I'll conduct an experiment. I tuned in to God, started thinking about Him. I put my friend's photo on the pendulum of a clock. It started moving like this. I was thinking about God, "Lord, I love you." And at the same time, I was doing all of this for this person. And during this time, his picture was moving from side to side on the clock. I thought, now let's ask him what he feels. I called him and asked, "Were you thinking about me?" He said, "Yes, I was, and I started feeling so good." "And how do you feel?" He says, "I feel good, just feeling a bit dizzy." There's such a connection between people. His head was spinning. I laughed so much.
One more question. The last one. How to choose a mentor? Where to look for one?
I have an answer. A question. How do you choose $1 million? Can you choose $1 million for yourself? Can you? A mentor is more valuable than $1 million. That's why you won't find one anywhere. You will always receive from God exactly as much as you deserve, everywhere and always. You didn't come to these lectures for nothing, and similarly, when the time comes, you will find your way to your mentor for a reason. You simply need to deserve it, that's all.
Thank you.
Because the most precious thing in a person's life is a mentor, and no one will ever get the most precious thing cheaply.